My name is Abena Johnson, and this is Focus on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Boakai, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Good evening, gentlemen. Welcome. Good evening to our audience. This is Between the Headlines. It's Monday night, and it is good to have you all here. This is where we come and we try to go behind the headlines. Tonight, we have three trending issues. As we all know, the president has finally submitted the draft budget to the legislature. What has tongues wagging is the procedure that is being used to submit this budget. So we'll take a look at that. And of course, the speaker has also responded to all of this, including the recent departure of the ECOWAS parliamentarian mediation group that was in town for a couple of days, what he makes of all of that. And then finally, there seems to be something brewing between Liberia and Guinea. It almost escaped the radar, but all of a sudden it seems to be blossoming into something pretty interesting and ominous. So we'll also take a look at that. So here to help me unpack all of this, we have our esteemed journalist on site and diplomat in the presence of Gabriel O. Williams. Gabe, welcome to the show.
Thank you. The correct name is actually Gabriel H. Williams, but I am delighted to be with you. Thank you.
Pardon me there, Gabriel H. Williams. And also here to help us is my friend, Mohammed Sharif, my colleague and fellow political analyst at FOL. Welcome, Mohammed.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Okay. Also joining us tonight is our counselor on set, Councillor Freeman. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And last but not the least, my best friend who brings the heat all the time. We intersect, like we say, in many different organizations, so I'm very familiar with him. Oh, okay. And Reverend Shirley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be back on the show.
Okay. And all the way from Canada, the Duke. Duke, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Victor. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay. So why don't we do this? We'll ask the councilor to quickly help us lay down what is obtaining right now. Let's begin with the president's submission of the budget. This whole thing started around, I think, October 17th. This whole attempt to remove the speaker. But what is interesting, there are a lot of coincidences. The president invited the speaker to join him at the Vatican. They were out of the country when his colleagues behind him decided it was time. He became too unpopular, and they made a move against him. The president returned to the country and wrote the speaker on the 29th of October, requesting some time, to put the budget together and submit it to the legislature. A few weeks later, he wrote again, requesting more time, and this time claiming that he wanted to go and consult, his lawyers. So apparently today he has decided to submit a budget, but through the clerk, the chief clerk at the legislature. So, council, help us here. Is this normal? Is this something here that we should be concerned about?
Well, the submission to the chief clerk?
Yes.
Well, firstly, if we are going by the Constitution, it doesn't seem to me that the Constitution was explicit in how the president presents the budget. I don't know of any statute that says how the president should present the budget or to whom. Okay. The other thing I want to make clear is that the president is making, I want to believe, a pragmatic calculation. Most likely not a legal calculation. Okay? So the other thing to note is that the House, or let's say the Parliament is not a strictly legal body. And sometimes people forget that because they pass law and they can impeach and other things. So people, but it's not a strictly legal body. So by quasi legal, it means that sometimes they operate with rules that may not necessarily translate for other maybe branches of government or other organizations. That's why, in addition to the Constitution, they are also guided by the House standing rules. Also, if I could be corrected, but it doesn't seem to me that is a requirement under the rules. So normally in law, we call things like that a gray area. And a lot of constitutional issues are gray because something is missing and people are trying to find practical ways to fill it in. So probably we are also here to see how we can contribute to filling that missing piece in.
Thank you very much. So from the council's perspective, it looks like there's not much to see here. Mr. William Gabe, you have been a journalist. You've covered a lot. Have you ever seen this in your time as a journalist?
Yes, I have seen it because I practice here in California, in Sacramento. I worked, after I fled Liberia in the wake of the Civil War, I settled here in Sacramento, and I served for one of the local papers here as a staff writer. And and as our young learned counselor was going through all these legal activities, it reminds me of what actually transpired here in Sacramento, in California, at the California State Legislature, where you had a speaker, and you guys can Google him later if you haven't heard of him, Willie Brown, one of the most important political figures in California for the past 20, 40 years. He was a mentor to Kamala Harris, our current vice president. She served as an intern in Willie Brown's law firm. And Willie Brown for 16 years was the Speaker of the House. And there were times, towards the last 5 years or so, where the Republicans wanted him out, and there was one impasse after another. And this man, being a great constitutional lawyer, he used the law from time to time, to bypass the process until eventually he caved in, and actually turned over to somebody that he actually selected, and he moved on. But that battle was on. So yes, as a counselor talk about gray areas, these things are there. And you need constitutional lawyers to actually interpret them and provide, and for me, these things, they are really, teaching moments. And as I listen to him, and when he talked about the gray area, it gave me that appreciation because there are some things, as much as the laws are there, you cannot just find, definitive, answers for. Having said that, I think, the crisis, in the house, it's just long past due, and it is actually treading on dangerous waters, as you see. The last time I was on this program with Dennis, I expressed fear that what has started at the house, was an act of rebellion that will have unintended consequences. Of course, one of the guests disagree with me at that point, but you see what's happening. With all of the other things that are happening, the country is almost at a standstill. And then you having all these things about the rebel things and other things, the Guinean situation. So yes, I think we are going on uncharted waters that could lead to serious crisis in our country, that could lead to serious instability. So I'll stop there and listen to the other guests.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams. Um, Mohammed, this is Sherry. As a student of political science and a political analyst, Gabe is alluding to, you know, an apparent impending, crisis here that could really blow out of proportion real quickly. I mean, I understand the Senate and the House cannot be apart for more than 5 days. And this crisis has gone on since October 19th. It's coming on to 4 weeks now. And the Senate and the House have not been able to meet on anything. Should we be worried here that we are quickly approaching a very serious crisis here?
Yeah. Thanks. Great question. We should be worried. In the meantime, it's the average Liberian people suffering the impact of this madness. If this continues, you have no budget. You're not going to have any budget. Whatever program that they're trying to implement is not going to happen. I don't know what it is that they're really going to do with the nearly $1 billion budget, which is largely top heavy. It's intended to pay the Liberian public service, for the most part. But whatever is left for, small programs here and there, projects here and there, is going to be stopped. And Gabriel mentioned something very profound. I mean, these rebels, the rebel legislators now are just sitting around buying time so that sooner or later you're going to have enough money going around to buy more rebels so that they can overthrow the speaker. This is keep in mind, this is a constitutional coup d'etat. This is what it is, and it's very dangerous what they're doing. The Liberian people should be outraged, and nobody is saying anything. And I heard the other day people are sitting around saying, don't mind them, just wait. The United States is going to sanction them. So this is what we're waiting for now, so that the United States can sanction our officials before we do anything. People should be outraged and in the streets like yesterday. Should have been in the street like yesterday, like day before yesterday, to confront these rebels, to follow the Constitution. Some of these guys were affiliated with the Civil War, so they know one or two things about rebellion, toting guns and stuff like that. This is not, you have at that time of the Civil War, you had gun-toting rebels. Now you have, white-collar rebels who, are trying to overthrow their speaker, and this is very dangerous. And I would think that the president, will use his wisdom in here. The attorney has said that the gray areas, but at the same time, the president should use judgment. I think that bypassing the speaker in this manner is a recognition of these rebels, and it's a problem already. This is going to be a problem. This is not going away anytime soon. You saw that ECOWAS has intervened. ECOWAS has failed. So who was there when the Liberian Civil War was raging? Not the United States of America, the George Bush administration, as Under Secretary Cohen, hands off, Secretary Schultz and others, hands off Liberia. We don't need to bother. We don't need to worry about Liberia right now. We have other priorities. Meanwhile, as people were being slaughtered, it was our brothers and sisters from the sub-region, countries like Nigeria, Guinea, and countries like that came to the aid of Liberia. Ghana, as I should also mention, that came to the aid of Liberia during their period of the Civil War. Is ECOWAS coming around again to resolve this issue? And Liberians are saying to ECOWAS, the rebels are saying to ECOWAS, no, we don't agree. And ECOWAS, I think, has gone back home now, has gone back to base, trying to recollect themselves. This is very, very dangerous.
Thank you, Mohammed. Reverend Shirley, Mohammed is making a real serious point here. ECOWAS has been one of the regional bodies that we're falling on. We all remember ECOMOG and even several times ECOWAS intervention. We all remember all of the other, conferences along with the AU. But our regional brothers and sisters have been very helpful in helping us, get past some of these log jams. But the fact that they came in country and seem to have left empty-handed, and on the heel of their departure, the president has already he has thrown the first punch, I would say, by submitting this budget to the clerk. Do you think here? I know the councilor said the president has been practical. Do you think he's trying to tip the scale here? Does he have his finger on the scale?
I don't think so. And I think we've been emotional, and most times we've been irrational about how we discuss this issue. I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to take us to the plain text of the Constitution. Because I love to be rational. I love to be equitable. Okay, I want to be fair. I don't have any dog in this fight. I'm not partisan. I'm not on any side. But let us at least exercise some caution, some restraint, and some truth telling. Okay, Joseph Boakai, you've been following me. I'm not an admirer of Joseph Boakai. I have never praised him from day one till now. But Joseph Boakai is not in the wrong to submit a budget to whoever he wants to. Because the Constitution, and let me take us back to the plain text of the Constitution. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer, so be patient and let me read the plain text of the Constitution. And I will begin with Article 33. Article 33 says simple majority of each house, and I repeat, simple majority of each house shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. The house right now is divided. There are two sides. There's a minority, there's a majority. The majority has that simple majority that the Constitution talks about. Simple majority shall constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. And I will stop there. You can read the rest of it. And then I go to Article 39. Article 39 says, the House of Representatives shall elect every 6 years a speaker who shall be presiding officer of the body. Come on, it's not a period. Come on. A deputy speaker. Come on. And such other officers as shall ensure the proper functioning of the House. We're sitting here pretending like only the speaker can run the House. It's a lie. That's not what the Constitution said. The Constitution listed the speaker, listed the deputy speaker, and other officers that the House will elect for the running of the House. So if the speaker is not there, the House is not crippled. The House can function with the deputy. If the deputy is not there, the speaker is not there, there are other officers. The Constitution says who shall see to the proper running of the House. So forget about this speaker emotional thing with emotional license. Fonati Koffa, I love him. I met with him, but right now he's not being honorable. The honorable thing to do, as I said, is to resign. Nobody wants this kind of mess. If you love your country to that extent, and you see other people, you in the dreadlock with these people, they say they don't want you. I had a boss when I was in Nigeria. He always gave me this quote. He said, you cannot force a willing servant on an unwilling boss. Now I'm going to say it this way. You cannot force a willing boss or unwilling servants. The House have their own rules. The Constitution did not say anything in Article 39 about why they should remove the speaker. They can decide. And let us not make this thing unique to Liberia. Here in America, it was only Mark Gates that removed Kevin McCarthy. We didn't call Mark Gates and his group rebels. We didn't call them rebels. Marjorie Taylor Greene alone wanted to remove Mark Johnson. It was the Democrats that saved him. They didn't call her rebel. In Nigeria, the very first and only female speaker of the Nigerian parliament, she only served for 4 months. Her own group, they removed her. That fight went on for more than 3 weeks. And she ended up stepping down. Why are we making this thing that looks only unique to Liberia, calling people rebels? It is the House. Fonati Koffa also paid money for people to vote for him. And like I said before, when you feed the beast, you got to keep feeding the beast, because the day the beast gets hungry, it will eat you up. And that's what happened. When this 54th legislature took seats, Fonati Koffa wanted to be speaker. JMB did not want him. They went to JMB house. They spent money for people to vote against him. He also spent money for his colleagues to vote for him. Now he's there. The same colleagues that voted for him are now saying, we don't want you. They are in the majority. The Article 33 says simple majority shall constitute a quorum. So wherever that simple majority is, it said they can constitute a quorum for the transaction of business. So JMB has the right to submit a budget to the simple majority, which is the majority black. That's what the Constitution said. So I don't know why all this noise. The people in the House say, we don't want you as our speaker. Why are we making all this noise about what people do? That's their rule in the House. That's how they do it. And it's not unique to Liberia, as I'm saying. It's around the world. People do it all the time. So why are we taking Liberia to be so special? We're taking Fonati Koffa to be above the Constitution and above everybody. If Fonati Koffa is an honorable man, the best thing to do is to resign. Do we have precedent in Liberia? Yes. It happened to Edwin Snow, and he stepped aside. It happened to the other guy, what's his name? That was speaker from Bali.
Tyler.
Alex Tyler.
Yeah, so why are we making this now to look so different when it comes to
Victor? This is enough. I have a question. I have a question.
Go ahead.
You're not asking the brother a follow-up question. So how many members are needed to remove the speaker?
Okay, thank you. That's a good question. Article 39 says to remove the speaker, you need 2/3. That 2/3 by their number in the House, they need 49. They only have.
How many the rebels have now?
Hold on. You asked the question. Let me answer.
I'm asking how many the rebels have now.
I'm going to answer you. Okay. They need 49 to constitute 2/3 to remove him. Right now they have 43. They don't have it. Okay. But the 43 constitute simple majority. So the Constitution said they have the quorum to transact business because they are in a simple majority. Let us not confuse this thing.
You've answered my question.
Removing the speaker.
The guys are rebel. The guys are rebel.
Can we talk about the hosting on the show or what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Okay, Reverend. Thank you.
The Reverend talked about my position. The Reverend called my name in short. You know, it's not about being emotional. It's saying the right thing.
So you want to turn it into dialogue because you call your name?
If you sit here docile and the counselor just told you this is a great area. I would wish that we all should know our areas.
No. When the counselor used gray area, the counselor said,
Excuse me. I just asked you a question, and you said the rebels need 49. Right now, the rebels have 43,
which make a simple majority.
Okay, I don't care. Majority. Constitutionally,
okay,
you're asking the speaker to resign when the rebels do not have the numbers yet.
More
So
than that, Mr. Sherry.
the reason they're asking him to resign is because they don't have the number. If they have the number, they will impeach him. They will stay. Either way, he's not going to stay. They don't
This
have the
brother
number.
is very
So they say
confused.
resign.
I
If they
don't
get 49,
understand.
they will.
All right, let's bring Duke in here. I think he's been waiting patient. Duke, you listen to Reverend Shirley. He's talking about the simple majority, but there is a process laid down, right, for the removal of the speaker. There is a precise definition of the absence, what constitutes an absence of the speaker. Now when he's not in the building. So the speaker is saying he is here. The Constitution lays down a two-thirds majority for his removal. None of that has happened. And the speaker is saying he is not leaving. So here we are. The president seems to be, as the council said, pursuing the practical line. They say, you know what, the majority seems to be on the side, but the majority don't have the number to remove the speaker. Herein lies our dilemma. What do you say, dude?
You know, Victor, this is one of the things that really reminds us as to where we are. You know, the body is a constitutional body, but it also has administrative functions in carrying out its work. And you cannot divorce the administrative aspect of it from the legal aspect of it. You know, so sometimes there is a legal responsibility, just as there is moral responsibility, and these two go hand in hand. With that said, and you know, I've said it before. I mean, looking at the way things have transpired to date, eventually, Speaker Fonati is on the losing side of this exercise. And without having to go in any detail, we have a well-established precedent about these kind of situations. Now, when you evaluate the totality of all of this, I think it's really less to do with the Constitution as it's written, and a lot more to do with the individual who are supposed to be interpreting and applying these laws and these rules and these regulations. So it is clear that the majority are the rebellious ones. But because they have the majority, you can refer to them as, you know, majority. But it's an illegal majority. And the way Brother Salif sort of read the plain text, I mean, that can only happen when things are functioning the way they're supposed to function. That's when, yeah, you can have a simple majority, yes. And Article 39 says you need 2/3 to impeach. That is when you get to a situation where impeachment conditions have been met, then you need a 2/3. Now, and then you go back to Article 49. So really, because of the way the two chambers function in our system, they don't care. Sorry, they don't care about the hardship that people are going to experience. They don't care about the delay all of this is going to result to. They are only in it for themselves, and so it's a power play right now. So, like you said, like you alluded earlier, the very way he came to power through, you know, money changing hand and all that, it's the same way he's going to be removed. And that's why I said here the other day that not even George Weah can now save Fonati. It's just a matter of time he's going to, you know, he's going to be removed. And it's not, this is not the way it should be done. But eventually they are going to arrive at that place where they've done it before. This is not the first time. And you know, Brother Salif, I always agree with you on a lot of the things you said. But you see, when I said you talk about the United States, it is the Republican Party's rules that and the condition upon which they were going to allow Kevin McCarthy to continue. That one of us should have the authority, the power to say, yes, you have to go, and he accepted it.
Yes.
So that's an internal arrangement the GOP had among themselves, and it's a rule that they have to follow.
And even then,
So
to agree with you, McCarthy was according to due process. He had to
that's
go
right.
over 14 different times,
That's
and
right.
he could only get over that hurdle after making a deal with that intransigent Tea Party group,
That's
and
right.
they stipulated the conditions under which he could be removed, and he
Yeah,
triggered one of those. So this is
that's
really
right.
different. But thank you, Duke. Mr. Sherry,
That's
I
right.
mean, yeah, I know you want to come back in here to make a little more clarification. I hear
Let
you
me just
saying,
land,
"Oh, I'm sorry.
Victor.
Go ahead, Duke.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You
So,
know
so,
you're flying
so,
from Canada now, so I'll give you the airspace."
yeah. So sometimes they might look the same, but actually the content and the way things expire are not the same. Look, it is clear this majority bloc, they are rebellious. This majority bloc, they are just trying to make sure that they get rid of the speaker, and eventually, like I said, they are going to get rid of him. But this is not what the Constitution says, and this is not how it should be carried out.
Yes,
Thank you,
can I
Duke.
come in?
Uh, who wanted to come, Gabriel?
Yes, I just wanted to chime in one, just, you
Okay.
know, yeah,
Okay, go
just,
ahead. Go ahead.
yes, just real briefly for me. You see, we as Liberians, we have to adhere to the rule of law, a constitutional process. And that's why, on the premise of your question, I came in with that little background of my own experience working here with the Sacramento Observer newspaper during that time when they had a crisis here. And it was the best of the constitutional process unfolding, and you can see it. But in Liberia, when money changing hands so much, people have been bribed because you don't like this man or that man. The Constitution says you must have 49. I think 47 or 49. If they don't have it,
Yeah.
yet anything else they're doing is illegal. And I think it is wrong, or whatever it is, whatever reason that anybody would give for the executive branch led by the president to go and submit the national budget to a rebel group and not to the speaker. When the president goes to deliver the annual message, who does he address? Mr. Speaker? Isn't that what it's saying? When the budget is when the document is submitted. So let's not find all the little excuses. They don't want this guy. For me, I don't care. All I want is let us adhere to the rule of law. Okay? The ECOWAS people came and someone made the point about ECOWAS. Let me just come in. When we were, at each other's throats, slaughtering one another, it took our brothers and sisters from the ECOWAS sub-region to come and save Liberians from ourselves. These people are seeing trouble coming again. They're coming and talking to our leaders, and they're acting arrogant. They disrespected these people. A delegation sent by President Tinubu of Nigeria, who is the chair of ECOWAS authority. If anything happened, even if before America come in, who do you expect will send, some intervention force into Liberia? Isn't it Nigerians? This man sent, through ECOWAS for them to come, and they disrespected those people, and they're acting just rebelliously. I am disappointed that the government, the president, the executive will take this course. They are feeding into this rebellion. And all this stuff we're hearing about, or wars and rumors of war in Lofa, all this thing with Guinea and stuff, these guys are looking for trouble. Drip and drip and drip and drip. I don't know who's advising the president, but this is not the right course. They're feeding into more and more problems. It is the speaker's constitutional right to say, I am not moving. Except he resigns, it is his prerogative. If not, let the group, adhere to the rule of law. Let him go to Chima and let him submit and move him as constitutionally provided for. Anything else, as far as I'm concerned, is rebellious. And and those who are involved in it, they are rebels. That's it.
Thank you.
Counselor, I know you want to come in, but I'll let Mr. Sheriff, because I know he was making the point about the process. I think this is what concerns most of us. I don't think his argument is anything to do with, the numbers, practicality, but the process. I think this is the point. So, Mr. Sheriff, in addition to what Mr. William just said, you wanted to add something before we go to
Yeah, I
the
wanted
council.
to add, how dare anyone, how dare we ask Fonati for Koffa to resign unconstitutional? How dare we? How can you call yourself an analyst? How can you call yourself a political, an objective political analyst? How dare we? You know me on this show. I don't support the CDC. I didn't support all these things, Fonati, Koffa, whoever. I don't support these guys. But when it comes to the rule of law, I stand by the rule of law. These guys, the 43 rebellious rebels legislators, need to conform to the Constitution of the Republic of Liberia. The Constitution, in fact, that needs some reform right now, because this Constitution came into effect during the Doe era, and nothing substantial has happened to this Constitution that I don't even like. But for right now, this is what we have, and we, or you, myself, everybody must conform to this Constitution. So yes, J. Fonati Koffa is conforming to the Constitution. The rebels, led by Thomas Fowler and others, must conform to the same very Constitution. In fact, right now, they are not lawmakers; they are lawbreakers. That's what they are.
Thank you,
Jim
Mr.
Victor, just before you bring in Counselor, let me just take a minute to respond.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to hear Counselor's viewpoint, but listen, these guys are still following rule of law. For somebody to call for somebody's resignation, there's nothing wrong. I unilaterally can call for the president to resign. You're not going to call me rebel because I say President Boakai should resign or because somebody should resign. If you work in a house and your colleagues are saying we can't work with you anymore, resign, I don't see what makes that unconstitutional. Article 49 says, the last part says, the speaker, the deputy speaker, and other officers so elected may be removed from office for cause by resolution of 2/3 majority. The Constitution did not define what cause. So if a group of people come together and say, listen, you are our boss, we don't need you anymore, we want to go, they can trump up their own charges, they can come up with anything. It's the law. So if somebody say it is not the rule of law, then it doesn't make sense to me. It is the Constitution that said they can remove the speaker, they can remove the deputy speaker, they can remove other officers so elected by cause, with resolution. Come up with a resolution, state your cause, and ask the person to be removed. That is the law. So when people sit on their show to say it is unlawful for people that work with another person to ask him to resign or remove him, it is not lawful. Then you say in the Constitution it's not right, and you say the Constitution took effect from Doe time. No, the Constitution is 1847 Constitution. It only went through review in 1986 during Doe time. So there was Constitution review. It took effect since 1847. So it's not Doe time that the Constitution took effect.
Yeah, and somebody tell this brother that Doe obliterated the Constitution.
I said it went through review. Doe did not do it. There was a constitutional review.
All right, gentlemen, let's bring the
Doe did not have the power.
Were you still around? Were you around in 1980?
All right, gentlemen.
Have you read about 1980?
Council of
Let us not mislead people.
Have you read anything about 1980?
All right, gentlemen.
Have you not read anything about Doe obliterating the
Gentlemen,
Just something.
Councilor,
The 1986 Constitution is a new Constitution.
just a second, Councilor. Let me ask
So
you.
why is you are in the house?
Let me ask you real specifically. Then you come in.
Yeah.
Isn't there a procedure established for the removal of the speaker? Because I'm listening to Mr. Sheriff, and
But
you
you
know,
people are mixing two different things up. You are mixing up removal and conducting business.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so let's start with the Constitution. 34M. 34M authorizes the legislature to make other laws which shall be necessary for the proper occurring and executing of the powers and all power vested by the Constitution. So the rules of the House constitute other laws. So if you go now from the Constitution to the rules of the House, you find out that business can go on. It doesn't require the presence or absence of the Speaker or the Deputy. Not removal, because it's established in the Constitution, removal, expulsion, 2/3. Okay, so if I'm not doing removal and I'm not doing expulsion, well, I can still do other things. The House rules number 12. Let me see if I can find it exactly. The House rule number 12. Okay. Just a minute.
We'll wait.
Yeah. Okay. So, House rules number 12. They speak to the quorum of a simple majority shall be necessary for the transaction of business. And then, because there's a fundamental constitutional principle that what the law does not give you, meaning why it's not written there explicitly, it withholds. That is HE, American constitutional law, which flows over to our law. That if the people that you are talking about doesn't give it to you, it will hold it from you. So that means the House rule is envisaged in a way that business can go on with or without the Speaker or the Deputy. That's Rule 12. Go back to 8. I'm sure you got it. Rule 13. Upon a quorum being present, the presiding officer. Why did this rule say presiding officer and didn't say Speaker or Deputy? Why? Because the rules is constructed in a way that they know that the business of the House does not necessarily require the presence or absence of the Speaker, and that the House can get together and call a quorum, and even if the Speaker or Deputy is not there, they can have what they call a Speaker pro tem. And the Speaker pro tem is under rules 13.
And what are the functions? What qualify the Speaker pro tem?
Oh, once they get together and they have a quorum,
right?
Somebody has to preside. So they nominate that person to preside.
What is that quorum, Council?
Simple majority. It's the quorum.
2/3 majority.
No, 2/3 is for removal.
No, simple majority quorum. Anytime you speak about quorum, whether from the Constitution to the House rules, the simple majority. So the purpose you need to separate the removal from the conducting of business. The conducting of business requirement is quorum from the Constitution to the House rules. The removal, expulsion is 2/3. And the removal and expulsion come in with due process.
Correct.
So, in order for you to remove him or take away his right as a speaker, whatever, you must give him an opportunity to be heard.
Correct.
So, unless they do that, they cannot just remove him by fear. I mean, they can decide what constitutes cause and all of that, but they have to do that. Okay? Right. So, let's separate the removal, expulsion from conducting business. Let's also separate the fact that when they gather together, it necessarily must be presided over by the Speaker or the Deputy. No. Once they have that quorum, if any other people are not there, they can decide any other person who is on the floor go up there and preside over our forum. And the House rules say that person becomes the Speaker pro tempore. So the House envisages it. So it is not in my mind a rebellion. Yeah, they don't want him, so in that way they are opposing him, they're rebelling against him, but it's not like an illegal action that is being going on by the fact that they are saying they don't want to preside over him. I mean, honor his gavel. All he has to do is call a quorum. Now, the legislative thing, I don't want to think that the House assumes that the speaker position is tenable in the absence of a quorum, because every time you see in the Constitution they mention speaker, they will tie it to quorum. Even for him to call, they will say, okay, you haven't obtained a quorum, we now call this, so that is a prerequisite. So right now it's like his speaker, but his speaker without the necessary powers. That's why it looks like.
Thank you for the clarification. Oh, Duke, you've been listening to this here. I don't have the rule handy, but I do know that there is a 60-day period when the speaker is being removed for a new speaker to be elected. I'm going to go on assumption here and say this is when the pro tem comes in to conduct the business. But however, again, I don't have the facts in my hand. Let me ask you this. What concerns most of us, myself included, is the normalization of gimmicks outside the rule of law. And I hear the council explanation. Do you believe that Speaker Koffa is standing in the way of the Liberian people's business, or the 43 is standing in the way of the Liberian people's business?
Actually, Victor, this is something that goes beyond your question, because you see, we have come to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized in the first place. Because you see, I'm in my 50s, and in all my years, what I know, we have not been a people that followed rules or that obey our own laws. You know, and I say this not in a good way, you know, because you see, exercising your power, and from the face of it, you would say, you know, these people are supposed to be lawmakers. These people are supposed to be the ones that follow the law, etc. But this is how we have functioned in our schools. This is how we have functioned in our establishments. This is how we have functioned everywhere. And that's the result you are seeing being displayed in broad daylight. Okay? Look, the rules and the laws go hand in hand. You cannot separate the two. So with that said, we are just exercising the lack of our inability to follow our own rules that we put in place. So really, where we are right now, as uncomfortable as it might sound, the duly elected speaker, albeit with some questions, he is going to have to cave in to this so-called majority bloc, because right now they do not have the, I think is it 49 that they need, and they are, I think, 4 or 5, whatever, short of that number.
The 43.
Somebody, you know, I remember somebody saying here, the only person who can make a difference now is the one with the biggest envelopes, or whatever the person said. And this is how they've since the cessation of hostility in Liberia, this is how this house has functioned. So this is something that they created themselves. And what is it? What's his name again? The speaker. Fonati is not going to be the last person to go through this. Whoever they elect as a speaker is going to go through the same process. As long as they did it to Edwin Snow, Speaker Tyler, they are going to do it to whoever comes in, because somebody will just, you know, on the whim of some disgruntled member, for whatever reason, like you said, in the Constitution, it did not specify what a cause should be. So it's open to interpretation, or whoever wants to interpret it whichever way they want. So, Victor, what you see in the House is a manifestation of what we have come to normalize in our lives. You know, not following the laws. Nobody cares to follow the laws, because the way we try to get our way is through bribing our way, and, you know, giving people money and all kinds of ways of doing things. So really, unfortunately, the Liberian people are going to be the one to suffer. The Liberian people are going to be the one to face the brunt of whatever transpires in that house, because now everything is going to be on standstill. One other question in my mind that I've been asking: what does the Constitution say? The sitting of the House, where is it supposed to be held? Because now we saw the budget being presented to the majority group at what is it in LJ, whatever they call the place in Kenya.
Mm.
What does the Constitution say about that? I remember clearly when Edwin Snow was having his faction, they presented him whatever it was at what is it OAU
I
Center.
think it was at the
So
pavilion or EJ or one of those.
that's right. So there are just multitude of issues that these guys don't care about. So I mean, under normal circumstances, you would say, okay, you know what? What is the impasse? What do we do to get over this impasse so that we can function as a house, so that we can get on the people's business? But the people's business is the last thing on their minds. So it's really we are at the point of no return. Eventually, Fonati is going to cave in, whether he likes it or not, because the wind is blowing to an extent that he can't resist it. I mean, sooner or later he's going to cave in, and I've said this from the onset. He's not going to survive this.
Right.
Thanks, Duke. Gabe, this topic actually kind of segues into the next topic. So as we're rounding this up, let's do what the football or the sports comment does do. Let's take our picks. How do you see this ending? You think the speaker, of course, which is the next topic we're going into, has responded. He says resignation is an option, but he's not exercising it. So, how do you see this ending? Is he going to eventually give in as Snow and Tyler did, or is he going to be committed to pursuing his constitutional options to the fullest?
Are you talking to me?
Yes, Gabe.
Oh, yes, thank you. Well, he has already said that, and I think, at the risk of repeating myself, it is his constitutional prerogative to exercise. He can choose, to say, well, I'm sick and tired of all this confusion. I'll throw in the towel and do so. Or he can say, well, I'm going to see this thing, to the logical end, let the rule of law and the Constitution prevail. And let's go through the process. Let's submit to the constitutional order, and let's see how it ends. He can so choose. But again, it is a country that will continue to suffer. And I don't know what capital there is to gain by the executive branch of government to support one faction against the other, especially when you have the speaker. If I were in that situation, I would hedge to do something like that, and actually err more on the side of caution, not to be openly involved in doing things that are going to further exacerbate this crisis, especially in the wake of ECOWAS intervention and the blatant disrespect these people have been shown. Because I tell you, if there's one shot fired in Liberia right now, it is the Nigerians in this country they've shown that the government, the federal government in Liberia will be looking to. So I don't understand where they're going with this. They better rethink this thing very seriously, and not irritate our regional friends, our regional brothers, because they are the ones we're depending on. I don't know the security so much in Liberia. Where a Guinean plane came in, they didn't even know. So they better rethink their course. I don't support the disrespect showing ECOWAS. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Sheriff. I mean, we indicated here this thing is almost 4 weeks going on. The 43 can't seem to get past the 43. I think they were 42 until the deputy speaker crossed over.
Yeah.
And also the speaker can't seem to get past the 30. So we are still mid here. It appears the executive is counting on the fact that the speaker will get worn out and throw in the towel like Tyler and Snow did. But this speaker is a lawyer and he knows the law. He is saying that the law gives him the right to resign or not to resign. How do you think this is going to end?
Yeah, excellent question. Again, I think that I agree with Brother Dukley. I mean, at some point, he's going to cave in. I mean, family members are going to now get tired. Keep in mind the other side, the rebels are playing the long game, and they're going to make sure that they have the money. These guys are finite, so these are millionaires on top of what is given to them allegedly by some forces. So the dissidents now are playing the long game. So the speaker at some point is going to cave in. But if I were Speaker Koffa, if I were in that position, I would dare them. I would put the system on trial. I would I would stay there, even if you were short of one. You have 48. I would dare you to get that last one. I will put the system on trial. And that is what he is supposed to do. And that is the right thing to do. Because every now and then you sit around, people say, oh, let the mayor resign. Oh, let him go. Because it's happened once. It's happened twice. This is like the third time. What is wrong with this country? And keep in mind, these guys are not in our interest. They're not in your interest. They're not in my interest. They're not in the interest of the average Liberian people. Whose interest are they in? What we're hearing is that the reason for the uprising is because the speaker attempted to audit them. These are guys that rode to the Capitol building in what we call keke because they needed more money. They needed money to buy new vehicles. These are guys who got free vehicles, free gasoline, free housing, free everything for doing absolutely nothing for the Liberian people. So these are guys that are not used to perhaps what Speaker Koffa. I don't have any evidence on that. What he was trying to do. All I'm saying here is that, and the brother is saying, let him go. He needs to go now. How can he go? This is unconstitutional. They don't have the constitutional number. They don't have the number that they need to oust the speaker. And lastly, J. Victor, it was on April 12, 1980, that Samuel Kanyado took power in Liberia with 17 men that was expanded to 28 military officers, and they brought in civilians or whatnot. They, on that day, I think it was Decree 1, whatever decree it was, abolish the Constitution of 1847. So this very Constitution that we have now came into effect after that whole process, when the government, when the elections were coming up in 85. I believe this is 83, and they put that commission together. I don't quite remember the dates now, but this is after that. So no, to Pastor Sirleaf, no. It was not amended, all these things. The Constitution of 1847 was totally abolished, and this is a new constitution.
That's not true.
Pastor Silly, I know Mr. Sherry called your name, but let me come to the counselor, then we'll come to you. Counselor, let me ask you this. Yeah. And I listened to the arguments you made based on the House's rules. If all of this is laid out, how is it then that you think the group of 43 has not triggered any of these? I mean, they've been holed up at the Robert Johnson Hotel for almost a month now, and if they're aware of all of this, why haven't they proceeded? They haven't done anything.
I wouldn't want to agree that they are aware, because Liberia, we don't vote for the best of us.
True.
We vote for the worst of us.
It's true.
If you look at the two leading politicians in Liberia, George Weah and Joseph Boakai, maybe other people have their opinion, but I think they are the two worst of us. And those are the choices of the Liberian people. So I want to believe the same limitation from person like George Weah and Boakai is the same limitation with a lot of the guys in the House. They don't seem to have a strategy. They don't seem to have a game plan. And I don't think they really understand the strength of their rules. Okay? So they are not doing it simply because they probably don't know. And they probably not consulting properly and stuff like that. So that's why I think. But I was on a previous show when I said that people should not necessarily think that a parliamentary stalemate can end within a shorter space of time. It's always possible that it can get extended, especially when the parties become intransigent, like in this case. But normally honor their rules. If there is a question that you will have interest in, you're not supposed to generally vote or preside over that motion that is putting that thing on the floor. Like if you're putting something on the floor and the party who is presiding has an interest in that matter, you're not supposed to preside. So Koffa should know that if they are putting the issue of his speakership, to debate and argument, he cannot be the one to preside over that issue. It's in the rules. Rules are 18. I will pick it up and add it there. So I don't believe they know what they're doing. I think a lot of the guys are not the best of us. It's just that the way the Liberian system works, if you are corrupt and you steal a lot of money, you can go around, you can divide that money, and the next day you are honorable. I mean, what other reason is Magil there? Look, Magil was my classmate, okay? Magil is a D+. I say it. And everybody who know Magil know that he was D+. But he's senator, right? Because in Liberia, corrupt people get money, they divide it around, the people are so impoverished, and secondly, they don't have a lot of pride, so they vote for crumbs. And the worst possible, those guys are not doing what they should do because they probably don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Pastor Sully, let me ask you this. Can you explain to me why these guys feel the need to be bound at the hotel? What are they doing? Why do they feel to be holed up at this hotel? Why?
In the first place, I will make some corrections, but in the first place, they are Liberians and they are free to be wherever they want to be. Anywhere they want to be, they are free. They can even decide to hold their parliamentary meeting at the hotel. The Constitution did not say the only thing, it should not be outside, I think, Monrovia, but they can meet anywhere they want. Anywhere they have the quorum, they can sit and they can meet. But let me correct some issues here. Number one.
As you're correcting that, explain to me what is the essence of the election of officers of the House. If they can just meet anywhere without a speaker, then why do they have to elect a speaker every 6 years?
Because the speaker is the presiding officer. The Constitution says, let me use me as an example.
Okay.
I was overwhelmingly elected by unanimous consensus.
Okay.
As the chair of the City of Fargo Human Rights Commission. So I serve the City of Fargo, North Dakota, as the chair of the Human Rights Commission.
Okay.
Every time we have commission meeting, I'm the chair, I can be present.
Okay.
If I don't have the quorum, we can't hold the meeting. I won't say, no, we must host the meeting because I'm the chair, I'm here. If we don't have the quorum, the hall can before anything, once we don't have the numbers, the meeting is canceled because we can't hold it. There's no quorum. So let's understand this thing. Another thing,
you abide by the laws here.
What are you talking about? The rule of the law is.
I'm asking you, you abide by the laws here, but you don't want the same to apply for Liberia.
No, don't interrupt.
Anyway, move on. Let's move on.
No. You are talking. I did not interrupt. Don't interrupt.
Let him go ahead.
Okay,
And to his point, to Reverend point, as you continue,
you made your points.
Reverend, let me throw you a bone.
I was asking a question. It was just a question.
That's an interruption.
Let me throw you a bone. We all know on the morning of October 17th, they were actually going into the hall. The speaker was out of the country. It was Marvin Cole and others who locked them out. So
I'll get to that point. Let me correct these issues. Okay, so that is it. If my team that I work with, we have I think 11 commissioners. If half of them decide they don't want Reverend Salim as the chair of the Human Rights Commission, I don't call them rebels. They don't want me. They got reasons why they don't want me. They are not rebels. It's their right. And I cannot force myself and say, listen, even though you don't want me, I will still preside. It doesn't work that way. If there's any problem here right now, the person who should be called a rebel, it should be the other side. Because for the three people say we don't want you, you said no. It's like in the marriage between a man and a woman. The woman say I don't want you anymore. You say no, you must be married to me. It makes no sense. So let me correct that. The next thing I want to correct is the majority Black. And counselor lay it out, but because we're being emotional, we refuse to accept the fact. The majority Black, they do not have the number to remove the speaker, but they have the number to conduct business. So don't conflict the two. They have the number to conduct business. So that's the first correction I want to make. They have the number to conduct business. The second thing is there is no stalemate. The people promoting the stalemate is people like us on air deceiving the Liberian people that if Fonati Koffa is not there, it's a stalemate, it's a lie. Article 33 of the Constitution said they only need simple majority to conduct business. So there is no stalemate. Fonati Koffa is the speaker, but he does not have the simple majority. He does not have it. So there is no way he can conduct any business of the House. The simple majority, when the 43 say, they can elect anybody to chair that meeting. And that person, as Councillor rightly said, becomes the Speaker pro tem. Anybody can conduct. If I don't have to be there, if I'm not in the Human Rights Commission meeting and they have quorum, the meeting will go on without me. I don't have to be there. That is not being rebellious. That is the rule of law. So let's correct that. I'm coming. Let me take time to bring this.
I'll give you one more minute, yes, Reverend, and then we'll move on to the other issue.
Yeah. So there's no stalemate here. So the only problem there that the majority Black had, the mistake they made was they did not have the number and they rushed ahead. They should have waited to get the 2/3 before they even announced.
They've been working on this since June, though.
Yeah, they did not have the number. It's the same thing that happened in every parliament. If you will put something on the floor for vote, you got to make sure you have the number because it will fail if you don't have the number. And that's what they made. But they are not going against the law. They are not against the law. They are not rebels. They say we don't want our bus. They don't want the bus. That is their will. That's what they want. So let us stop all this deceiving the Liberian people that if Fonati doesn't say, then there's a stalemate. Fonati must be there. They said the speaker, the deputy speaker, and other elected officers of the House. So there are other officers, and then the simple majority. The only problem we have is they don't have 2/3 to remove him, but they have the simple majority to conduct business. So the last thing I would say, the president is now supporting rebels. The president, the simple majority has the constitutional right to conduct business of the House. And if the president must submit a budget, he will submit it to the side of the House that has the quorum to conduct business. That is not supporting rebels. Let us
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
In the meantime, they're rebels. Let's move on. They're rebels. Let's move on.
This is still a developing story. Since this is still a developing story.
My man Sherry, you know I like you, but
I have no doubt we'll come back to it again, but we'll leave it there for now. Let's move on to the last topic of our night, which is the situation with our neighboring country, Guinea. We in Guinea are part of the AU, and we're also in the ECOWAS bloc as well as the Mano River Union bloc. I was reading the write-up. I didn't finish all of it on the front page. Apparently, there really are sections in the pact between the Mano River Union, among the Mano River Union countries, that actually admonishes host countries from deporting individuals from the region when their deportation is triggered for matters that have political, implications or concerns. Counselor, I don't know if you've looked at this story. This gentleman, Sheriff, apparently he was arrested here and released in the early hours of the morning. The reports are that the junta in Guinea is worried that this gentleman is here in Liberia, apparently lobbying to recruit lured fighters to go and fight on behalf of the ousted President Conde, who I think is in Turkey, to come back to Guinea and remove the Boya and his team in the World Members. And so there was so much mounted on our government that this guy had to release. The were all clear that this guy was really was going to be politically and persecuted. What do you how do you understand this thing?
Okay, in Liberia, we have a long history of that being law-abiding, and this has led us down the road of civil strife for 14, 15 years. It led us to impunity and corruption under Madam Salif. Probably Mr. Williams will come in there. And it led us to impunity and corruption under George Weah. It's the same lawlessness that is continuing under Boakai regime. Forget about the UN Charter, the UN Charter, the MRU Charter. The fundamental principle of law on extradition is that you cannot extradite somebody who is raising a political claim. Meaning, in order to determine whether the claim is valid or not, the court have to intervene. And most certainly, you will start with the circuit court, and then you will end up with the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court will give the final order to say, okay, political claim is valid, the person will not go. Or political claim is invalid, the person will still. We saw it when Costa crossed and went to
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone.
Yeah.
And I appeared on one show again, and I said, these guys, at the time, it was, what the guy they put on sanction? Serena Safers. I said, Serena's then they just fooling President Weah because they will tell you to give them a big chunk of money. They go into Sierra Leone, they're going to get the guy. But there is no way that a political talk show host is going to cross the border into another country and you're going to grab him from there and bring him. So if I will tell the president, Mr. President, this is not possible. But the sycophancy in Liberia is detrimental to the country. So we have the lawyers. I know the Solicitor General. I know he very well is a good lawyer. I know that he knows that there is no way that somebody who is raising a political plane can be put on a plane without adjudication in Liberia. And when I say adjudication, I'm not talking about the circuit court. I'm talking about the Supreme Court. Without the full bench of the Supreme Court saying, yes, we reject this person's political claim, send him back. He knows he's not supposed to do it. But because Liberia has a long history of impunity and failure to follow the law, mind you, there's a president who signed a gentleman agreement for $80 million loan. So he's capable of doing anything. So for me, I feel like MRU or ECOWAS, they won't do much because, mind you, look at the statistics. The ECOWAS regional court, 70% of the ruling are not implemented. You can check it up. 70%. So they lose relevance when they get to intervene in regional matters because everybody knows that if you rule against Nigeria, well, the Nigerian government is not going to implement the ruling of the ECOWAS court. If you rule against Ghana, they're not going to implement it. So why should they even bother to implement it? And you have, for example, the case of Ghana and where he was ruled, we didn't implement, and Boakai didn't implement. So I know those guys. They are lawyers, they are senior lawyers, whatever. But because of the long history of impunity and the sycophancy that is in the Liberian government, they will know the right thing, but they are not prepared to tell the president this is the right thing. So they will tell him, oh yeah, it's possible. Oh, we can just go in on a plane and ship him to Guinea, no problem. But it's illegal. That's the most I can say.
Thank you. Gabe, I know Council, I believe you may have, written about this, not this particular case, but similar situation like this. I mean, we have so many different facts with Guinea. I can understand that, but the very fact that this gentleman was released, in the early hours of the morning, it's clear to our people here that they knew something was amiss, and yet they went ahead and released this guy to the Guinea authorities. Now his lawyer, Councilor Kabina Jana, is saying that the man cannot be found, and in fact, he went as far as to say the man is dead. He believed the man was killed. Um, I mean, and here we are, ECOWAS that we usually, rely on when we're having our own internal strife. Guinea is a strong ECOWAS, Mano River Union member. I remember 1979. We were still in the street when the Guinean soldiers were here. Talk about burning in,
Yes.
to quell the 1979 demonstration. They come in
Yes.
all the time when we need them. So I understand there was a lot of pressure from Duboya and his team, and we seem to have caved in. How you compare this to? Is there anything in the past that you can compare this situation to?
You know, you just made my, I won't say my day, but you made my moment. Even when you mentioned the 1979, event, in Liberia, where Guinean troops were brought into Liberia during the Toba administration. Very
Right.
Yeah.
strange development. We were kids those days. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, seventh grade, eighth grade,
Look, I couldn't even speak English. Most of
yeah,
them, they were not even talking to
yeah,
you.
yeah, very strange developments. But here it
When
is.
the parachuting
I'm
on Broad
glad that
Street.
the councillor made reference to the fact that we could have, maybe written. Look, a few months ago, as former leader of the Press Union of Liberia, a colleague and myself, Emmanuel Abalo, who we both, led the Press Union during the early years of the war, and I tell you how I eventually fled into exile here. Recently, a few months ago, Emmanuel and I issued a statement, a press statement, calling on the Liberian government to investigate reports about mercenary activities that were unfolding in our country, that they should investigate it. Just a few months ago, if you check Front Page Africa, Daily Observer, the Inquirer, and many of these newspapers, they have the reports just a few months ago. When we issued that statement, there were people who, were calling us alarmists, that it was unrealistic. Here now, we have the chicken is coming home to roost.
Yeah.
To the extent I read, an article in the Front Page Africa just a few minutes ago, no, about an hour or so ago before we came on air, that really alarmed me. Where, a plane from Guinea came to Monrovia midnight, landed to come and apprehend somebody in Liberia, on Liberian soil, a sovereign country. My people, this is like somebody leaving from somewhere, wherever, come into your home, knock down your door and go and grab somebody from your house and walk out with them and say, you man, I dare you to stand up, to even stand up to me. And they walk, they say, look, where is the man? Give me the man right now. If you don't get into me, I'll knock you down. They say, oh, yeah, boss man, you're the man here, you're the man here. This is why those guys are like real ditch. It's a real knee jerk situation. Those who handle this thing, I do not understand, what level of, education they have, the leaders, their security exposure, even, understand the international law, where they left out the entire process altogether and handed this man over. It's obvious. It's very clear. I would really love to hear that this guy is alive, but the
I,
possibility that he is still alive is very slim.
I
So it's
really hope,
unfortunate.
yeah, I really hope he is. Mr. Sheriff, Mr. Williams is making I read some of that. I didn't read all of it, too, but the way they describe the process, the whole um delegation that came from Guinea, 6 military people, coming in the dead of the night. The number 2 was supposedly on that plane with them. They came in. When I talked to any Liberian personnel, and they got the landing right through the robbers information region under surreptitious, circumstances. They talk about something about they could get it right off the internet and all of that. They practically invaded our airspace, and they came in
Yes.
here, grabbed this guy, and took him away.
No,
I
I
mean,
beg to disagree. They never invaded
well,
because we have a president,
I was
we
going to
have a
say,
minister
okay,
of
but
justice.
the way they got the permission was under very dubious circumstances,
No,
and they
it was collusion. And it's the same thing I'm saying with the impunity. And these senior officials, the sycophancy, because it is totally unreasonable for you to send somebody out. Even let's say the person committed genocide, let's just call it genocide. Even if the person was accused of genocide, they still have to go to court. And the court has to be the only body that will say, okay, we believe the person committed genocide, or we believe there is a genuine case of genocide, so send him back to where he came from. Only the court. Now you have people who campaign that were going to institute rule of law. They said George Weah was lawless. And since they came to power, we have been seeing repeated lawlessness after lawlessness after lawlessness. When is Boakai lawlessness going to end? Because we see him defying the Supreme Court on multiple occasions. We see him going out and signing loan agreement or gentleman agreement for $80 million loan. We've seen him doing a lot of illegal stuff. When is his illegality going to end?
Thank you, Councilor. Mr. Sheriff, I was coming to you. Councilor apparently is so impassioned about this, he just jumped in. But let me ask you this. That if you really look at in recent times, there's so much disrespect for Liberia and Liberians, right? And this president, he understands these diplomatic, engagements. But we had some Ghanaians coming here and giving out 2 generators at the airport, 2 little generators. The president was there, to sing praises to these people. And then we see this Ghanaian woman, the whole Incotech thing, coming here and just disrespecting us. You understand me? Now we're hearing the Guineans came in here, 6 of them refused to talk to anybody. They just came in, grabbed their man, and took him away and left. If that is not the height of disrespect, I don't know what is. I mean, what do you say about this? Do you feel, as a Liberian, do you feel good about this?
I don't think that this was done in isolation. I mean, they didn't. I don't think they just invaded Liberian airspace. I think they must have had permission.
The council believed there was collusion.
Yeah, they must have had permission to do this. Keep in mind, Liberia has a non-aggression pact with Guinea. Now, when you look at the context of all of this, let's go back a little, and not way back, but you look at a series of events that have occurred. I'm not even going to go back to 79. I'm just going to go right back to during the Ellen Johnson administration, when there was a crisis in a school, I think it was a special education school. I don't know. I don't remember. I think girls' school. An organization called More Than Me was involved with horrible things to our Liberian girls, and what happened to them? Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Lucas Richards, the guy who almost slaughtered Jessica, what's her name? Jessica Lloyd.
Yeah, I remember this story.
And the report
is
that,
who almost got beheaded. Yeah.
Yes, and the report is that when he was taken to the police station, the police was like, to the lady, one of the eyewitnesses tried to try to talk to people, and y'all come, the man here, y'all come, and the police said, but why are you calling people? Why are you calling this man American? And this man is this and that. And what did we see? Our court system that we're talking about now. They let him go. Today, this criminal is here in the United States. Okay. And the young lady is bruised back home. So this, you can put this in the context of a whole host of different things. Now, the problem that I have, and Gabriel mentioned this, when they sounded the alarm about this situation, I haven't even read that yet, but when they sounded the alarm, about activities going on along the border region, this is when the government should have done something. But there's something about Liberia. They say, if you want to hide something from Liberians, just write it. They're not going to read it. Just write books. They're not going to read the books. Right? Write in newspapers. They're not going to read the newspapers. Okay, you can put all kinds of dates. They're not going to know. They're not going to know it. And so at that time, when this was reported, the government should have done something about this. There's a whole lot of things about this issue that's very, very unsettling to me. It's unsettling to me. Why is a group around that region? What is going on? Do we know? We don't even know the full text of this. What is going on there? So we need to know this. Do we know what's going on? Because Liberia cannot be used as a base for exporting war in another country. I mean, Liberia has had its own situation with Ivory Coast. When those sounded the warning to the region, to ECOWAS and the OAU, they did nothing about it. And so we suffer the consequence of doing nothing. So putting this in a bigger context, this has to be followed up. And there has to be investigations all across the board. I'm even concerned right now about the security of that region. I am very concerned. Like, what is going on? So I don't know. Without knowing much, the little that I know, and in fact, the Front Page Africa tried to go in depth and talk about other things and talk about, how Boca Briswell, whom I didn't know was related to our former dean, Danielita Briswell. Boca Briswell was extradited from Guinea to Liberia, and Boca Briswell was killed in Belayala. I didn't know that. Even though in the Front Page story there was some inaccuracies. But that part was very touching to me.
Thank you, Reverend Shirley. There are protocols, right, that we're signatories to that govern how these kinds of matters are handled. I mean, we've benefited from those protocols, and we know the recent situation with Henry Costa. I think it was Councilor Freeman or Mr. Williams who mentioned that. We also, where the Sierra Leone government dependently refused to extradite Henry Costa back to Monrovia. We know of the Ivorian incident. I think it was during the very time of the current president when he was vice president, I believe. I believe there was this incursion, I think, from the Grand Gita side or so, between Liberia and Ivory Coast, and I think those extraditions were handled according to protocol. Why do you think this particular incident? It seems to, when you read the way it is written by Front Page Africa, I mean, I know there's always another side to it, but it seems there was a lot of pressure that was brought to bear on this government to release this guy. How do you think this is so? What is it that we were so much afraid of? That they will come in here and grab our president and take him away, and take him where?
I think
I don't know if I can jump in.
I'm sorry here.
I don't think anybody pressuring a sovereign country.
Yeah.
I think maybe they pay bribes, most likely because the government is very corrupt.
Yeah.
They could have come here with a bag of money and share it around. I mean, Boakai has shown himself to be with no scruples. In the shortest possible time, he has spent $2.5 million outside the budget on covert operation. He has spent another $2.3 million on petty cash. So what's stopping if Guinea comes here with another maybe 1.5 or 2.5 and say, look, Mr. President, that man is a stupid man. Take the $2 million and put him on our plane. I don't see any reason why Boakai will not do it, because he has demonstrated repeatedly that he is a lawless president. He doesn't care about the law. He doesn't respect the Supreme Court. He doesn't respect the Constitution. And so I believe they could have bribed. I don't think it's because if you are a sovereign nation, how is it possible for another sovereign nation
Right.
to come on your territory, grab a prisoner from in your prison, and whisk him away. No, it is most likely bribery. So, what Boakai is in there for the money, he will take it. He will ignore the court because if he can ignore the Supreme Court on multiple occasions, what is going to stop him from ignoring the circuit court? I mean, this is a man who signed $80 million or gentleman agreement that is still in limbo. Okay, so that's why I say these guys don't understand politics. Because if I were Fonati, I will quietly build a coalition to impeach Boakai because he has committed a lot of impeachable offenses. So that is the way I will bring Boakai to the negotiating table. While Boakai is trying to remove me, I will start building my own coalition to remove him by impeachment. And so
I think Fonati is suffering the question of he who is without sin, let him cast the first stone.
Fonati, those guys just use corrupt money to get power, but they don't have ideas.
Yeah.
They don't have ideas. Fonati? Nothing. He just because he was with Ellen, and Ellen gave him a lot of corrupt deals. He used that corrupt deals to buy a seat from Grand Crew and bought a speaker seat. So that's it. But they may not have ideas. I don't see him being strategic because if I were the one, I would build my coalition to impeach Boakai. And we will mess it up to the point that Boakai will not come to the negotiating table.
Thank you, Councilor, Mr. Reverend Shirley. When you read a piece, they draw a lot of pieces, like you said, like Mr. Sherry said, they really go way back. Running here, but he talks about the fact that the former President Conde, who apparently is residing in Turkey, at one point in time was reported to be in the Ivory Coast on his way to Liberia to talk to the president. And the Guineans got word of it. Apparently, that kind of hissing. I don't want to use incursion, but that hissing the trip, because now they were concerned that you have this guy coming from Turkey coming to Monrovia, and then you have Sherry in Monrovia on the ground, purportedly recruiting lure fighters. So, Council of Money may have changed hands here. How do you read this?
Well, the way I read it is just simple, right? Like I've said before, this again demonstrates the ineptitude of Boakai's administration. President Boakai is inept. Let's face the fact. President Boakai was a complete fraud on the Liberian people. I understand the people were angry that they did not want George Weah, but they would have found somebody better. They would have got Councilor Gonglo. They could have even tried Cummings or any other person, but not Boakai. Boakai is inept. They deceive the Liberian people to say, oh, this man got 45 years of public service experience. Zero, because he has not shown anything. And Boakai is going to go down as, if not worse than George Weah. He is inept. And this is just one of it. These kind of things happening, that's why you got the Ministry of Information. Inform the Liberian people. Have a press conference. Hey, this is what happened. This happened. This guy. Listen, Liberia is a signatory to so many agreements in the AU, in ECOWAS, in the MRU. And I know one of the things is no member state country is supposed to use his territory as a place to launch incursion on another country. It's part of the charter. Right. You can't do that. So for somebody from Guinea to be using Liberian soil, maybe to mastermind toppling the government in Guinea is unacceptable. Definitely, he has to be arrested. But if he's arrested, then turn it over. There's a process you got to follow. Okay, there's a process. So you follow the process, and everything needs to be played. It should be. I was living in Nigeria when Charles Taylor was turned over. I know so many things happened too, because at the time Obasanjo had come to the U.S. and he wanted to go to the UN to be Secretary General, and Bush at the time told him, listen, I'm not even talking to you. Before I talk to you, you got to hand Charles Taylor over. And Obasanjo was in America when he made a call for them to hand Charles Taylor over. even as messy as it was, there was still some process. So when the plane arrived in Liberia, the other team, the UN, they were there. They had to do the handover from the Nigerians to the Liberian, then to the Sierra Leone court. So there was a process. There got to be a process in what we do. We can't just get up and start to do things. And this is the ineptitude I'm talking about. Boakai has, in fact, I even had it up. Just give me 30 seconds. Look, the last budget, how many millions Boakai had there just to run his own office? Okay, presidential affairs, they rose from 10.9 million to 12 million. They went to national security. Okay, EPS got 9.6 million, and then they got NSA with 11.9 million. All these millions of dollars. Is this what we have to show for the security of the country? The Guinea got proper security, better information than even we do. So the process was messy. The process was wrong. They shouldn't even come in a wee hour of the night. So take the man away. That alone spells problems. So it should have been a crystal clear process. The extradition is not something done in the dark. We got to follow all the principles. We got to follow the rule of law, just as we've been saying here. Rule of law to be able to hand this man over to the other country. If he was in Liberia trying to foment problems for Guinea, definitely he had to be arrested. But the handover process, the extradition process, I don't think it was followed, and this spells the ineptitude nature of Boakai's government. I have said it, and I want to remind us. Councillor talk about Fonati, Koffa bringing up some things. Yeah, I have moved ever since that Joe Boakai should be impeached. The first 8 months, 9 months, 11 months that we have seen, and this is what it's going to be for 6 years, that means we're in problem. Joseph Boakai should be impeached now. I unilaterally call for the impeachment of Joseph Boakai. He's in it.
Thank you, Duke. I know you've been waiting patiently. So now, God forbid that this man, is not alive. I mean, do we run the risk of being an accomplice in an extrajudicial rendering of a human being? Should we expect any fallout from this? If this man, even if it is, the whole arrangement here, I mean, aren't there some international norms that we seem to have stepped on here? And therefore, should we expect any fallout in terms of our human rights, the rights guaranteed under the Geneva Convention?
My response would be an emphatic yes. I mean, just to put it in context, our dissidents from other countries that seek refuge in the United States and other developed countries, especially those who are, signatory to the 1951 United Nations Conventions on Refugees. There are 6 questions or 6 criteria that you must meet in order for you to be qualified as someone who needs protection. One of those questions is, would you be at risk? Are you in danger if you return back home? And who are you afraid of? Most of the time, we say the government, the police, the security apparatus. So, irrespective of what was it that this guy did or what was he accused of in Guinea, it's clear and it's obvious that in the instance that occurred in Liberia, due process was not followed. Forget about the United Nations Convention on Refugees. Even our own internal law were not followed. Our procedure were not followed. Where a court must decide whether this guy should be handed over back to Guinea or not. That was the simplest legal procedure. This guy should have been accorded. Like you're saying now, let's assume this guy is dead, where he's been murdered. We are an accomplice in that. Like the Republic of Liberia is an accomplice in that. You know, we should not have turned this guy over in the manner in which we did. We should not have. So the analogy I was using with the dissident that coming to the United States and other places to seek asylum, it's the same thing here. Just because it's in Africa, we don't give it the same weight. Because this guy, like I said, it's not up to us to let the courts adjudicate and decide whether his case merits he being protected or not. And if that happens, then the court will make that determination. But you can't just come because you pay some dollars to somebody somewhere, and then that gives you the power to come over, you know, overnight and grab somebody and take them back to where you want to have them. I mean, we like Victor, you were saying earlier, why did Sierra Leone refuse to turn this guy over to Liberia? And this is just as recent as a couple of months ago, not even years. We saw that happen because the Sierra Leoneans follow due process in this instance. You know, and we don't have to be, you know, we don't have to sit here and ponder what would happen to him when he's returned to Guinea. I mean, we all know what will happen to him. We know the example that was cited in that front page Africa article. Somebody was extradited from Guinea to Liberia. They were sent to Belial and they were killed. So it's not. Again, for me, it speaks to a larger issue of we not being law-abiding country. We don't follow the law. We don't follow our own law. We don't follow international law. We don't follow nothing. We are just about lining up our pockets, and that's it. You know, because when you look at the whole thing, the way the whole thing transpire. I mean, since when people come overnight and grab somebody and turn them over? Since when? But again, I wanted to say that our territorial integrity was violated. But then I didn't want to go that route because somebody must have gotten something somewhere and allowed this thing to happen. You know, I mean, allegedly somebody took money, or I don't know. I mean, there are just too many flaws that it makes us hard to even keep up. You know, I mean, something. I mean, like this. Just imagine. What's his name? One of any dissident from Liberia who is here, claiming asylum on the basis of fear of their life and whatever they might face when they go back home, and then the United States say, okay. And before you are granted asylum, your case is fully adjudicated, your story vested to determine the veracity of your story, and your story is backed up by evidence and proof. I mean, something that will substantiate your claim. So if your claim meets the metrics of measurement that is put in place, then you'll be granted asylum. I mean, why are we? I mean, are we not able to do that? Our courts not competent to adjudicate this guy's claim? Are we not able to follow due process, or was it that we don't have competent justice system?
It's impunity when you violate the law for so long.
I mean,
and there is no price. You continue to believe that you can violate the law even in larger and more significant ways.
And Counselor, this is the trouble where we have come to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized.
Exactly.
You know, that's the that is the problem. And in this case, it's exactly what happened here. I don't think they were concerned about following international law. I don't think they care to go through due process before they hand this guy over. No, it's obvious that they did not.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Reverend.
Why do we have to do anything? We practice a culture of impunity. After all, people like Mageda went through, they can be elected senator. I mean, what are you talking about? That's the culture we promote. That's the culture we foster. So nobody.
It's really unfortunate.
Yeah.
I mean, you have for example, the Fonati people talking about today. On 2 occasions, people violated the law. And Fonati, instead of calling for investigation, he said he's a counselor. That's what I heard. But when people violate the law and they're accused of felonies. And he said he forgave them. They should go and sin no more.
Really?
Yeah, on 2 occasions with a public work minister and I think with another person. They broke the law. And Fonati said, well, we forgive you, you go. So today he said he's a lawman. When he started knowing the law.
Gentlemen,
Well, it applies to him again.
every good thing must come to an end. I'm afraid we are running up. Thank you ever so much for your brilliant and interesting analysis and contributions. At this time, let's go around the room. You can pick any of the 3 topics from the submission process of the budget to the speaker's response and the last case, which is the diplomatic engagement between Liberia and Guinea. Let's take not more than a minute to close it out. Mr. Williams, starting with you.
Yeah, thank you. Basically, I think the government needs to change course, with regards to the entire budget, submission process. The law must be, followed, no matter what the situation is. Regarding the developments, the security issue, I think again the government didn't do right by submitting to the Guineans whatever may have been done. I think the laws were blatantly violated, and Liberia's sovereignty at the end of the day was also violated. So there's a need for the government to look into all of these things and to also listen to ECOWAS because it hell breaks loose in Liberia. It is the Nigerian and the other ECOWAS countries that we'll be depending on. So nobody will sit in Monrovia and they think they have a right and to disrespect those people. They came there seeing danger coming, and our own people continue to feel that they have arrived. If anything breaks out, those who are in leadership, the president and the officials, they will be held accountable. We do not want for them to continue to stop conflict, to throw our country back into confusion after so many years of war. And what they are doing is gradually dragging the country into conflict, and it's unacceptable. They need to change course. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Mr. Sharif, your closing.
Thank you. Let me just begin with Mr. Williams, where one of the points he ended on, because I know all through this discussion you keep referencing disrespecting ECOWAS. I don't know where the disrespect is. I'm a pastor. I go to a husband and wife house. They have quarrel. They say we can't live together anymore. I try to broker peace to see if I can reconcile them. They say, we have irreconcilable differences. I don't see that as a disrespect to me. ECOWAS went there, they did what they're supposed to do. I don't know the details. I was in the meeting, what they discussed, so I don't see the disrespect. If they told Koffa, listen, the way this thing is going, maybe there's no end in it for you. Honorable stepped down and Koffa said no. Or they told the majority black and said, listen, the way this is going, and the other side said no. I don't see the disrespect. Okay, Liberia, yes, ECOWAS has helped us, but it's a sovereign country. Another group can just come and tell them this is what you must do. It's not father talking to son. Those are people with constitutional mandate to do what they are doing. So I don't see it as a disrespect. I see it as they went there and the discussion did not have a fruitful result. That's what I would say. I won't use disrespect. It's not like they did not give them audience. They didn't listen to them. Every side got their own side. They did not come into the middle. So that's what I want to say. And then I will close like this. The submission of the budget to the majority black, it is constitutional. It is not wrong. Conducting business in the Liberian House, and I will repeat it and I will be emphatic. Conducting business in the Liberian House is not tied to the speaker. The Constitution did not say it's only the speaker that can conduct business. The Constitution is tied to quorum. That is when the simple majority sit and there's a quorum, they can conduct business. That business means taking the budget, doing anything that the Constitution allows them to do for the country. So submitting budget to the majority black is not wrong. So I'm not a defender of Joseph Boakai. But I'm speaking as the Constitution says the House needs a simple majority, they need a quorum. So where the quorum is, where the majority is, that's where the budget has to go to. The budget doesn't go to the speaker. So there's nothing wrong there. So let us not confuse the two try to remove the speaker and the simple majority. Let us not confuse this thing and end up confusing our people who don't even know better. That's how I would want to end this.
Thank you very much, Reverend. Mr. Sheriff, I know you want to come back quickly, 1 minute, any of the three topics or all three of them.
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, Mr. Williams is correct. This is a disrespect to ECOWAS. You know, the Reverend is speaking like Charles Taylor, right? Reverend Sharif is speaking like Charles Taylor. When Taylor was elected president, he said, this is a sovereign country. We need ECOWAS to leave now, and the status of forces agreement and whatnot. But when the new rebels that came to dislodge him, were at his doorsteps, he started now calling for the West Africans to come back, our brothers to come back, you know, brothers and sisters to come back to the system. He started calling for the United States to intervene. I want America to come down. So this is disingenuous to speak like this, to say that it's not a disrespect. Of course it's disrespect, because anything that goes wrong, it's the same ECOWAS that we're going to call, we're going to rely upon. You're going to see women, men, in the streets, you know, calling for ECOWAS to come back, calling for the United States to come back. Why do you want to do that when you can prevent this situation?
We don't need a legislature. We just need ECOWAS to just send the details and
put devices on mute, please. This has been going on all night. So it's just pure disrespect to our brothers and sisters from ECOWAS. Liberia is not strong on its feet to be able to resolve its own military crisis, and so what the Reverend is saying is so absolutely wrong. And what we've been telling the Reverend tonight is that, you know, these rebels don't have the numbers. You know, you cannot say, let him resign. Then next time the next speaker gets there, you know, some group going to come up with 35. They don't even have, you know, the requisite, number of legislators to impeach. And then you're going to call on the new speaker to resign also. This is not right. It's disingenuous. It's disrespect. It's in contravention of our Constitution. You know, you've read the Constitution. You know, you've tipped over all of the part that has to do with the legality of this speaker to sit there and put the system on trial. So let's be honest with people. People are watching. Kids are watching. This is going to be historical someday. They're going to be watching you to see what did Pastor Salif say? And if you're speaking wrong like this goes down in history sometime. So I would say that the speaker should stay there. She's, you know, put the system on trial, test the system. Even if the rebels have 48, sit there, let them have the requisite 49. Put the system on trial. And this is how, you know, you're going to know who money is going to buy now, because money will buy the next 6 people. We want to see who they are. Money have bought a lot of these guys. Look at the guy who is presiding. Look at Thomas Fowler. What are these guys doing? What do they know? Nothing. What are they doing? Nothing. It's all about power, greed, money, and that's all it is. And it's very disingenuous. And I will close with this. I was reading something the other, one time, was published in an international newspapers, and it says that more often than not, democracies are thwarted not by the sudden rise of autocrats, but by the gradual erosion of the norms that enable a democracy to thrive. Gradually, our tenets, the basic precepts of democracy, is being eroded right now, and we don't see it. And so we need to come to terms with this. We need to call it for what it is. These guys are rebels. Until they get the number, they need to get the number to be in compliance with the Constitution to remove their speaker.
I think the framers of the Constitution, they very, very deliberately and intentionally put these stopgaps in there, to avoid, this kind of, people will sit at the table and then they want to remove a speaker,
Yeah.
go and get the quorum, right? And they know they don't have the number. Why did it trigger a removal process? So now we're deadlocked. Duke,
Yeah,
your
you
closing, brother.
know, it's very unfortunate that we are where we are. But you see, I think one point I think brother Reverend Salif is missing here. All of what he describes in explaining the Constitution applies to normal proceedings. This is not normal here. What we're seeing is not normal. Under normal proceedings, if for whatever reason, the speaker is not there, the deputy can be there or whatever. But what you describe, what we are dealing with here, what we have at hand, is not a normal situation. It's not a normal functioning of the House of Representatives. Some individuals came together and said we don't want the speaker, and then that's not normal. And what you are describing there is not what that is prevailing right now. With that said, it just speaks to the larger issue that we have in our country that is manifested in every sphere of our lives, which is lawlessness and our inability to follow our own procedure that we set in place. And we have now come to normalize things that shouldn't be normalized, you know? And what you see here is just a symptoms of what is wrong with us as a nation, what is wrong with us as people. You know, we saw how people said that you came up, you came up, I will still vote for you. You know what? I started my professional career as a school psychologist, where I help kids with learning disability and then I branch out into family therapy. The mindset of the Liberian people, the collective trauma that we've lived, and today we have not really healed from that trauma, and that trauma has now come to turn into what we are seeing being manifested in our parliament, in our House of Representatives. People are only concerned about themselves and what they get from other people to line up their pockets. That's it. This guy who doesn't have money to send the child to school, this guy who doesn't have a way to feed his family. Nobody cares about those people anymore. They are all there to squabble the little resources that we go out there to beg people to give to us to come look after ourselves. We are now trying to you know what? As someone said on this panel tonight, you know what? The rebels are going to prevail because they are going to find a way to increase their numbers by making sure that the whatever money they give to triple or whatever money they have, they're going to get that number. Trust me, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to eventually end up with what is it? Fonati Koffa being the lose. He's going to be in the losing camp of this because those guys are prepared. I think financially they are now strategizing how they can get the number they need to get rid of this guy. So we as a people, we need to be relentless in always calling for the rule of law to be followed, to make sure that people we are electing, they should follow the laws and stop this nonsense. I mean, we almost going to 200 years old, and in the year 2024, we are still doing things like this. I mean, what do we say to our children? What do we say to people who are looking up to us? I mean, it's just so shameful and embarrassing, to say the least.
Thank you, Duke. Counselor, as you're coming
At Focus on Liberia, we discuss everything Liberia, from education.
I think our producers are telling us something. We must have overstayed our welcome. Counselor, Marjorie, I hope I'm saying it right. She's mentioning something here as you're closing. What can the Senate do in this matter? Can they trigger any kind of process to help resolve this?
Okay. I don't know if I answer your question first, summarize first, and answer the question.
It doesn't matter. You can do either.
Okay, let me just make my summary then.
Okay.
Maybe in the summary it could be answered.
Okay.
I don't see any rebellion in the house because the Liberian population, they don't vote for speaker. They vote for representatives. And it's the people in the house that vote for speaker. So if the people who voted for speaker say we don't want the speaker, it's not a big deal, but it's not a rebellion. And secondly, under the Constitution, Article 34, it allows the legislature to write laws, to pass whatever laws that is necessary for their governance. So under that power, they wrote their rules on how they will operate. And under their rules, number 12 and 13, you need a quorum to conduct business. Number 13, whether you have a speaker, you can conduct. You have a deputy, you can conduct. Even when the two are absent, they can appoint anybody, and that person can be a speaker pro tempore, and they can conduct business. The reason why those rules are flexible in law, because they don't want you to reach to a point where the speaker and the deputy die, and then you can't conduct business. So they say speaker absent, you can conduct business. Speaker and deputy absent, you can conduct business. You just appoint somebody, they become a speaker pro tem, and that person is imbued with all powers of the speaker. So whatever the speaker can do, once they gather quorum and they nominate their presiding officer, he becomes the speaker pro tempore in the rules. And the rule is an extension of the Constitution. So to create the impression that there is a rebellion is not true. To create the impression that somehow there is some kind of lawlessness, it would be good if they all get together and, like have one forum, but where there is a political stalemate and they have a quorum, they can conduct business in keeping with their rules. If you go to the Supreme Court now, the only thing the Supreme Court will be interpreting will be the Constitution. The Supreme Court will not get down into their rules because it will not be the Supreme Court business to determine what rules the legislature should be governed by. So for me, I feel like this is a give and take. So when people go to negotiate, you got to give something, you got to take something. If they do like the executive and the Fonati function and the other people, if one of them willing to give and take, that's fine. But I doubt it because these are not patriotic people. These are people who have been stealing from their country for a long, long time. So they have no sense of patriotism. And the lawlessness that you see happening is not new. Like I keep stressing, you violate the Constitution the first time. You start your presidency with bribery. You constitutional violation after constitutional violation, including the courts. So to just pick up one citizen and get into Guinea, it looks like a very simple thing. After I defy the Supreme Court, what can I do? So back to the question she asked. What was the question again?
Oh, she wanted to know if the Senate, she's speculating that perhaps the Senate could trigger some action to break the deal, or some kind of pressure to breach.
Unfortunately, the Senate cannot cause a deadlock because they are functioning. What people need to know, you have to divorce the idea. I mean, you have to marry the idea of a speaker and quorum together. So functionally, a speaker is only a speaker if he has quorum. So right now, what you have is a speaker who is speaker on paper, so to speak, but he is not able to execute the duties of a speaker. In most civilized countries, that resignation will be in long ago. But these people don't care about the country. What Fonati is missing is the millions of dollars in the speaker budget. That is what he cares about. He's not caring. For example, he could have said, okay, let's do the investigation because I'm innocent. And then the investigation will prove his innocence, and then he will go back to his speakership. But he knows he cannot survive an investigation because he is accused of spending $7 million over his budget. Have you heard anybody spend $7 million over their budget? Those are the things that happen in Liberia. We normalize it, we clap for it, and then people are extremely poor. So I don't think the Senate, because even the Senate cannot interfere in the workings of the House because the Senate has their own rules. The Supreme Court will only interpret the Constitution. They will not try to interpret the House rules.
It's called separation of power.
Yeah, so if the House rule says that you get a quorum, you can get a presiding officer, and you can do business, nothing the Supreme Court will do. You know, so that's how I see it. Our country is in trouble. We have very selfish individuals who are not willing to put the country first. They can negotiate, they can give and take, and they can have a solution, but they are not going to do it because these are people who are accustomed to stealing from the country. Now, I check it all the time. These people have spent almost $800 billion without audit. But Fonati said he wanted to audit, but when Fonati was there, $365 million was spent and there was no audit. So Fonati only started getting interested in audit when his position was threatened because he was deputy and $365 million was spent without audit. So I don't buy that audit thing, you know, but unfortunately, this is where we are. We pray that the leaders will show some patriotism and reach some solution very soon because it creates a bad image for the country, especially with regards to investment and things like that. Once you are seen as a country in chaos, it obviously means a lot of people will stay away.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Thank you, gentlemen. This is where we'll leave it. Look forward to reconvening with you, brilliant gentlemen, again. Hopefully, somehow we'll find a female here to join us. They used to be with us. They seem to have deserted us. But this is where we'll take it home. Our producers, Dennis, if you're in the back, thank you also. And thanks to our audience as well. They've been pretty interactive tonight. Thanks for all of your comments and your contributions. Until we meet again, this is FOL saying, have a pleasant good night. Producers, are you?
We all love you, man.